In today's video, I'm getting crafty. I'll be using my Cricut Explore Air 2 to create this fun watercolor pop-up card. Hey friends, welcome back. My name is Shayda and our video today is sponsored by Cricut. I've gotten so many requests for a Cricut tutorial over the years, which just makes sense. This is a DIYer's dream. There's so many crafts and art projects that you can create with this cutting machine. It cuts the most intricate shapes. It's very precise and can cut, I think, over 100 materials. So from cardstock to felt to plywood to glitter paper. It's incredibly versatile. So over the last few weeks since they sent it to me, I've been playing around with it. Super easy to use. I made this cute mug as my first project. And today we are going to create this pop-up card together and talk a little bit more about the Cricut. So let's jump right in. Now, if Cricut is all new to you, don't worry, we're going to talk today about their project gallery and the design space program that you use with it. But to begin, we're going to start with good old watercolor painting because we're gonna get kind of creative here and we're actually going to paint the paper that we'll use in the machine. So I want to have a really organic, artsy look, and I love watercolor, obviously. So what I'm doing is I've mixed up a bunch of really watery but rich dark greens, and I am just covering a piece of paper and I'm making it really messy. You can see me doing a lot of wet into wet, mixing different colors of green, even adding water and kind of just letting it bleed out to make some interesting areas of color and transparency. And you can see as I kind of fill in this entire 9x12 sheet here, it just looks super messy, but that's a good thing because our little Monstera leaves for the pop-up card are going to be quite small and we want to see the variation. We want them to look like watercolor. So it's important to make this big messy paper. You might add some colored dots or splotches, just make a big old green mess basically, and we'll set that aside and let it dry. Now for this project, we need the Cricut to cut out a bunch of Monstera leaves. And so what I'm going to do is draw them myself on my iPad. I'm just using Procreate for this, and I basically need to make silhouettes of the Monstera leaves. But just to be clear, you don't need a drawing tablet to do this. You could draw them yourself using a Sharpie, take a photo with your phone, and upload them into the design space. And if you're unsure how to draw a Monstera leaf, here's how I do it. I start with an oval for the shape, and then I trace around that shape, making these indents. So make sure to have the oval as your guide, and it makes doing the outline really easy. Then you can add a stem, some holes in the center, and that's about it really. In the end, I drew 3 different Monstera leaves, a very simple, high contrast black and white image. So come on over to my desktop. We're going to go into the Cricut program, the design space. This is it here. It's actually a program that you have on your computer. And this is what it looks like when you open it up. There's all these project galleries and different projects that you can browse through and take a look at. People can upload stuff. It's pretty cool. So what I did first, I kind of did a little browse around and there's lots of great ideas. And then I just wanted to try a mug as my first project. So I searched mug, started looking through the gallery. I really like this monogram floral mug. But in the end, I fell in love with the Scandinavian animals, the owl especially. And so that's the one you saw me creating at the beginning of the video. Now what I want to do together is actually create our own design. So we're going to come over here and click new. That takes us into the canvas area where we can make our own design. And we'll click upload. And that's of course when I can grab the JPEG that I want to use. So I have my Monstera leaves, the 3 that I designed. I'm just resizing it here. It came in very large. I want to make it pretty small because the card itself is tiny, only 4x6. What I'm doing now is I'm going to right click on the image and you'll be able to pick duplicate from that right click menu that comes up, and then you just keep duplicating it and adding more and more and more. And every time I duplicate, I resize. So some leaves are quite large, others are small, and I wanted to have about 20 leaves, at least 20 leaves. And then once I'm happy with the amount, I'm going to click Make It. And that'll bring us to the next menu. We're going to choose the size. Mine is 9 by 12 or 22 by 30 centimeters. So that just lets the Cricut know what size of paper or material you're working with. Next, I'm going to grab my paper. It's dry and it's dried really nicely. The variation in color is great. It looks weird and watery. I love this area, and that's where I placed a lot of the leaves, so that's going to work out perfectly. Now I'm using my Cricut mat. It's sort of a sticky mat, and it holds your material in place while it cuts. So once that's all set up, I am simply going to turn on this machine. It's super simple to use. I wasn't sure. I'm not very technological, but this was simple. You turn it on. I've got it plugged into the computer, and so the computer finds the machine, and now we need to set our material. So I'm just going to turn this dial. I am going to go one past cardstock for the watercolor paper since it's a little bit heavier. And in the computer, you can see the material set actually changes as you run that dial around. And it can cut anything from vinyl to iron-on paper to cork, aluminum foil, burlap, many different materials. When we load our mat and fabric, we also need to make sure that our knife or cutting tool is loaded, and that's this little guy here. And I won't be using it today, but the Cricut can also score, or you can load a marker and have it do calligraphy. So I'm going to think of more projects because this thing can do a whole lot. Now we need to put the mat in and just set that really easy. It kind of latches on. And then from there, we just need to press the Cricut button, the on button. And then you just let it go. It does its own thing. At this point, you've set it up for success, and it's just going to cut. I went and made a cup of tea, and when I came back, it was all done cutting, so it didn't take long, and I had a lot of really intricate little Monstera leaves for it to cut out. This is something I never could have done on my own. Just the level of precision is just incredible. So I'm going to close up the machine, and what we're going to do now is get our watercolor paper off the mat. Now, because watercolor paper is so textured, it did stick a little bit, but that was fine. It came off just fine. Some of the leaves stuck, and then I just ran a little paper knife underneath them, and they came up really beautifully, and you can see just how precise they are. And then for the ones that stayed in the paper, I just gently pulled them out, and they came out really nicely. A few of the little holes in the leaves needed to be removed with my paper knife as well, but that was it. These are so cute, and now we're ready to create our cards. So let's come over here to my desk, and I've got a whole bowl of little watercolor Monstera leaves. I have a glue stick, and then I have some cards, blank greeting cards from the dollar store. I get these card and envelope sets, and today we're just going to use one. It's a white cardstock. I'll fold that, and I'm going to flip it around for a horizontal card. Now we need to just cut a little rectangle of cardstock or thick paper, about that size. You can sort of guess at the size, it doesn't really matter. And then we need to make an accordion fold. So fold it in once, flip it over, fold again, flip the paper over, and continue to fold, and so on and so on. So just making that little accordion. For the rectangle, it's better to go longer. If it's too long, you can always cut it down later. And I'll put it in the card so you can see how this is going to work. So that's what's going to make our pop-up card a pop-up card. Now, because I want to do a pop-up potted Monstera plant, I'm going to cut in the bottom of that accordion fold rectangle so that the bottom part is a little smaller, and I might indent one of the steps as well. And you'll see where I'm going with this, but you just want to make it a little bit smaller than the rest of the rectangle. And then you also want to flip that accordion, I'm just going to call it the accordion. You want to flip it around and make a couple little cuts on the back side. Then when you flip it out front ways again, you can create these little steps, and that will give your pop-up card a more dynamic and interesting look. So we'll glue this in. I just do one side first and then kind of see how it sits on the card at a 90-degree angle, and we're just using a glue stick for this, I find is best, because if you need to move it around a little bit, if you don't get it in quite the right spot, you can. So that's all ready, and now we get to have the fun of putting in all these little leaves. I think I had about 22 leaves here, and I used almost all of them. So we're just gluing them in. You want to have some scrap paper handy. If you need to cut down some of the stems to make the leaves fit better, you can do that. And having a pair of tweezers on hand is not a bad idea either, because this can get a little bit like, it's quite the craft. It's easy, but it's just nice to have the precision of the tweezers. So, and you want to make this big, huge burst of leaves, and they look so cute. And you can see now where I'm going to place the pot and why we wanted that area to be cut a bit smaller. I just cut a little kind of U shape, little pot shape out of watercolor paper. Added some stripes with my Sharpie and then glued that on the front. And that's pretty much it. I feel like the Cricut did all the work, and I am really happy about that. I love the way this pop-up card looks, and this was, you know, one of my earlier projects. I'm still getting to know the Cricut Explore Air too. And if you are a Cricut user, you know, drop some tips in the comments below, because I'm hoping to do many more Cricut videos in the future as, you know, I think of more seasonal crafts. And if you've got a great tip to share, like, I'm still getting to know it. It was easy to use, but I would love it if you have a great tip for how to use it or something you do in the design space. I'm making this card for Dad since Father's Day is this month, but of course a cute card like this could be used for any occasion. It would be something just fun to send a friend or pen pal in the mail. So for Dad this month, we are saying, you are unbelievable. And I think that makes a fun Father's Day card. Thanks again to Cricut for sponsoring our video today. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this new craft tool of mine, and I'd love to hear what kind of projects you would like to see in an upcoming Cricut video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon with a new tutorial.